Kids in the Kitchen. This is our 4th episode, and today we're going to celebrate Easter with you. So as we look at our day today, we've got 2 different recipes, and if you haven't found these yet, they are on our website, which is coshocton.osu.edu. If you go there, there's a little story about Kids in the Kitchen. You can click there and find all of our recipes from past episodes. And also, we've got our videos posted there as well. So if you didn't catch some of our episodes in the past few weeks, you can go there to find all of our recipes, all of our videos, and especially today's recipes, which are for resurrection rolls and orange creamsicle fluff. So I should introduce myself. I'm Emily Marrison with OSU Extension here in Coshocton County. I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences Educator. And with me, as always, are my kids. This is Julia Adams, and Nathan's behind the camera right now, so he'll come around and help us with a recipe here in a little bit. But like always, when we start, what's the first thing that we do, kids?
Wash our hands.
We wash our hands. So whether it's coronavirus time or not, we always need to be washing our hands when we're in the kitchen because that prevents foodborne illness. So let's go wash our hands. We've got a favorite song of Nathan's today that we're going to wash our hands with. Remember, 20 seconds is what we need to get a good scrub. You're going to get the outside of your hands, get your palms in between your fingers, thumbs, to make sure that you get all over. And we do enjoy having music when we wash our hands. So if you're making recipes with us right now, make sure you go over, wash your hands, get them all nice and clean. All right, thank you, Nathan, for the song today. Hope that you enjoyed that song as well. Happy Dance, and that's Mercy Me,
Mercy Me,
correct?
yep.
Yes, which is one of our favorite bands. All right, so, before we start, I have to give a big shout out to Jamie Martin and tell you happy birthday, because this is a big birthday for Jamie, and we love her very much down in Muskingum County. And her husband, Clifton, actually works for OSU Extension as well, just like I do. So a shout out to Jamie. We love you. Happy birthday. Hope it's a great day for you. And thank you for making recipes with your kids. We know that you love hanging out in the kitchen with your kids too. So, Julia, what recipe are you going to make for us today?
I'm going to make the orange creamsicle fluff.
Okay. And can you tell us what are our ingredients? Maybe Nathan, you can show what the ingredients are. Can you do that on the camera?
Oh, you just want me to zoom in?
So that we can see them okay. So just in case you weren't able to go and download the recipe, we want everyone to see what all is involved with this. So we'll give you a little look, and then Julia is going to take us through our recipe. Okay, so first thing,
We need to bring 1 cup of water to boil in the microwave.
all right, so Julia has already had 1 cup. Did it go away?
It's not zooming. It's not zooming out.
Okay, so it's very close. That's okay. So we have one cup that we're going to put in the microwave for probably 2 minutes is what we're going to start with. I'll come help you in a minute, Nathan. It's okay. So we'll let that go ahead. And then, Julia, can you tell everybody what is going to be the next thing that you do?
Next, we're going to put the Jell-O in.
Hi, everybody. There we go.
Okay, and what kind of Jell-O do we have?
We have orange Jell-O.
Orange Jell-O. Yep, make sure you say it nice and loud. All right, now, what do you notice here? We have a couple different boxes. What is the difference between these two
This one,
gelatins?
This one is sugar-free and this one is not.
Okay, and you mixed up, I think, because we we have one of those kitchen tricks where we've got some in the refrigerator right now because we're gonna have to, this is one of those recipes where you kind of hurry up and wait a little bit because you have to let it thicken, right? So when you mixed up the sugar-free, what did you notice about that?
It didn't dissolve like as it didn't dissolve it.
Like as quickly?
Yeah, as quickly as this one did.
And what did you notice about the package when you took this package out? What did you say to me?
Why is it so tiny?
Right? So this is what the sugar gelatin or Jello is a brand name of gelatin. And it's kind of one of those things just like Kleenex and tissues, right? We just kind of pretty much call all gelatin Jello, but really that's the brand name for it. So if you get sugar-free, you'll notice that it's about half the size. And that's because a lot of what's in here is not gelatin.
It's sugar.
It is sugar, right? So when we have artificial sweeteners, which is what is added to this to still make it taste sweet, then there's not quite as much. So I've encouraged you with this recipe to look at some sugar-free kind of options or some reduced sugar options. This is my philosophy. Oh, it is boiling. Very good. So we'll let Julia get that out. And I will go ahead and add this into, I bet it is hot, right? And that is part of our microwave safety that we talked about last week. Always making sure we're careful with those hot things. Okay, so you can pour that into our bowl. So lots, and you can see it's kind of like a whitish kind of color. That's a cool thing about gelatin too, is as you add the water to it, that is when the color starts to come out. So you can see it's nice and hot. And really, you know, just making Jello on its own is a fun thing to do with kids. So anytime that we can do fun things like that, we've talked about maybe making like some jigglers, which are when you make the Jello and then cut it into shapes. That's a lot of fun as well. So one of the things that we need to make sure during this time is just that what are you using for this, Julia? What's
Using a whisk.
A whisk. So the cool thing about a whisk is that it has all those little pieces and parts that help it to get everything mixed in well. So we're gonna make sure that we've got everything dissolved in there. Is it still zoomed in, Nathan? Okay, just do the same thing we did before, and I think it'll help.
There you go.
Okay, so this is step number 1. And then we need to add what?
Half cup of cold water.
So similar to the way we would mix up any kind of gelatin, you dissolve it with hot water and then add some cold. So I'll grab this for Julia. All right, there's our half cup of water. And we'll just get that dissolved in, stirred in real well. And then where do we need to put this?
In the refrigerator for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And why are we putting it in the refrigerator?
So it thickens up.
And then we're gonna add our next ingredient, but we'll do that in a little while. So I will let you get that in the fridge, and then we'll switch over to Nathan. I will gladly open the door for you. Yes, you can do that. That would be great. All right, so resurrection rolls are the next thing we're going to make, and I guess we didn't talk too much about why we chose these recipes for Easter. We're celebrating Easter this weekend. As I think back to the kinds of foods that are often at family holiday gatherings, there always seems to be some kind of what older grandmas and great-grandmas would call salads. But I do not call them salads because they don't have any, well, sometimes they do have vegetables in them, but they're usually made with some kind of gelatin. They have Cool Whip, they have some kind, something that makes it fluffy, And so this is kind of a throwback, this orange creamsicle fluff, to those kinds of desserts. So that's what I think of with that. But I was having to talk with the kids, like, all right, so this is going to be a different kind of Easter, right? We're not going to be with all of our family like we normally are. I know for Nathan and for Julia, they have always spent their Easters with their grandma Pam, and so it's sad that we can't be with them this year. But there's a lot of good things that we can still think about when we think about holidays. So Nathan, what are some of the favorite foods that you have from holidays?
Honestly, I really like my Uncle Rod's corn casserole.
And when does he usually make that?
Christmas time.
So that's a Christmas kind of recipe, right? So this is one that we stumbled upon. It's not one that we have really made before until now, till this show. But it gives such a great message of what Easter is all about. So they're called resurrection rolls. And after we get done making them, we'll talk about why they represent the resurrection. Like, what does that mean? What does that have to do with a roll? So I will let Nathan though start out.
Okay.
Okay.
So we need to melt the butter, obviously, and so really that's.
Okay, so talk us through some other things since it's not melted yet.
Yeah. Okay. So we have our like biscuits, our sheet of biscuits, and then we have our marshmallows. And we have in this bowl there are 3 tablespoons of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And those are all mixed together in this bowl. And
Very good. So tell us about your creation there with the biscuits. What did you use for that?
the croissant dough sheet.
Okay, so why are we using that instead of croissants like it calls for in the recipe?
Because it is a lot easier to make them out of a can.
Oh, right. Well, but the reason we're not using the actual croissant biscuits is because when I went to the store, they were completely out, right? And that's just the world that we live in right now, right? We're substituting things all the time. But, okay, so what? It's a sheet, and you can just cut it to make it look like the biscuits that we want, right?
It works.
It sure does. Okay. So give you butter.
We need a sheet pan.
Yes. So we'll bring that over. So we've also prepared a jelly roll pan, though if you've got cookie sheet pan, whatever you have, we put a piece of parchment paper on that because these are going to get possibly a little bit sticky, and that will help with that. Okay, so I'm going to assist Nathan in doing this as well because it does take a little bit of time. So he's going to do our marshmallows. So tell us what we do with the marshmallow.
Okay, so we are going to take our marshmallow and just sit it in the melted butter and just make sure it's completely covered in all that butter. And when it is, you just take it out and put it in the cinnamon sugar mixture and roll it around until it's completely coated. And then I'm going to sit it on one of our croissant rolls and then fold it all up. Like, oops, sorry.
Do you want me to do the folding since your hands are a little
Yeah, sure.
cinnamony?
That's good.
So the important part here is to make sure that you have all your seams really pushed together well, because we have learned that if that doesn't happen, then your insides might kind of pop out just a little bit, and it won't stay like a complete roll. So whatever kind of seams you have, if you can put those kind of on the bottom, and then we will just pop it right on. So you can just sort of roll it just like you would a normal kind of croissant or crescent roll. And then we'll kind of tuck those things under. So let's talk a little bit about why we call these resurrection rolls. So one thing that is definitely, I think, true right now at this time is that for many people, that are religious, no matter what your religious background is, they're finding a lot of peace and comfort in this time from other believers of their similar faith, and also just from either scripture or other kinds of sacred writings that they read. So April is a big month for a lot of religions. Towards the end of the month is when Ramadan will start, which is, for anyone that's a Muslim, this is something that they would celebrate. Passover begins today for our Jewish friends, right? And there's a connection between Passover and Easter, because Passover is when Jesus, who was Jewish, went to celebrate Passover, right, in Jerusalem. And then that was when he was crucified, right? So this is to represent Jesus, who in our house, this is who we believe in. This is who we are Christians. We are Christ followers. So this is a good representation that the body of Christ was buried, and so this is and he was placed in a tomb. So this is like saying the body of Christ is like the marshmallow and put into the tomb. And the reason that we call them resurrection rolls is something that you get to find out once you take the rolls out of the oven. Because even though his body was placed in the tomb, 3 days later, what happened?
He wasn't there anymore.
That's right, because he was raised from the dead. So that is our belief as Christians. And like I said, this is a time when that's what Easter's all about, right? Easter Sunday is Resurrection Sunday, and this is a time that no matter what your faith belief is, like I said, for a lot of people, they are drawing strength from their faith belief, and so we hope that that is the case for you as well. So here are what our rolls are going to look like. So we have our marshmallows all hidden in there, wrapped up in the tomb. And Nathan, what is our oven heated to?
375 degrees.
Okay, so 375, he's going to pop those into the oven. And while he does that, and those are baking, and that's probably going to be about 10 minutes. We were close between 10 and 12, and it kind of depends on whatever your dough mix is that you have. So if your dough instructions say to cook between 12 and 13 minutes, or I think this is 10 and 13 minutes, it's probably going to be pretty similar for whatever your recipe is. All right, so the magic of television food shows. You'll see that the bowl that Julia used has grown a little bit, because what's in this bowl?
This one, there's pudding in it with the Jell-O.
Right, so we knew we wouldn't have quite enough time to get all of our steps in today, so we dissolved the Jell-O and then dissolved the pudding already in this one. So kind of stir that around a little bit. You can see it's nice and thick. Looks great. And what are we going to do next, Julia?
We're going to add the Cool Whip.
That's right. And how do we add the Cool Whip? What kind of technique do we use?
You're gonna flip it. What's it called?
You're right, starts with an F.
Fold it.
Fold it.
Fold it.
Very good. Lots of charades going on behind the camera. Thank you for your help with that. So we'll put in about half of the container or so. And then we'll let Julia show us what it means to fold. Okay, so talk us through. What are you doing as you
So you
fold?
can go up and around and fold over top of.
Very good. So she kind of scoops around, flips it up and around. So she's folding it gently together. So folding is a very gentle kind of mixing. When we stir, it usually is a lot more aggressive. So when you fold, one of the things that's really nice is when you have something fluffy, it keeps the air in there. If you were going to stir it, then you would pretty much stir all the air out of it. So this is to protect the fluffy air that we have in our Cool Whip, or our dairy topping that we have, our whipped topping. We'll put some more in here. And if you notice on the recipe, I do put on there that I encourage you to use light. They make it sugar-free as well, but in all reality, the carb content between the two compared to what the taste of it is, you're just as far ahead, I say, to get light. You'll notice we're not using light again because they were out of all light at our grocery store. Just the situation that we're in. So I would say though that between the Jell-O and the pudding and the Cool Whip, I mean, obviously this is not one of our healthier recipes that we made. This is for fun. This is a special treat. We are going to put some fruit in this though, but it's a special occasion kind of thing, right? Not something that you're going to eat every day. But these other things, if they don't have sugar, then they do have artificial sweetener added to them. I have no concerns at all from a safety standpoint, nutrition standpoint of consuming artificial sweeteners. For me, it's more of a taste issue. If you use lots of things with artificial sweetener and put all of them together, you may end up with a really strong artificial sweetener kind of taste. Hey, you're doing great, hon. Okay, do you want to go ahead and drain our mandarin oranges? So we have, there's little cans, there's big cans. We're going to drain a couple of little cans to add a little extra fruit in here. But as I was saying about the artificial sweeteners, sometimes using everything with an artificial sweetener in it can give it kind of an off taste. So I like to mix and match. I'm all about lowering the sugar in things, reduction rather than elimination. I think that that's really great for our kids to have less sugar. So in making something like this, you just choose one or two ingredients that you know you can get either sugar-free or lower in sugar. So there's a lot of water or syrup that are in these. And actually the mandarin oranges are another source of added sugar as well because of the way that they're canned. So these were canned in a light syrup. Years ago, I know they used to have in water. You all right, hon? What's that? Oh, yes. I was like, what are you doing with a spoon? She's getting our 5 reserved mandarin oranges out because we've got a little garnish that we're going to put on the top. Good memory. So she's going to take 5 of those. We keep them here on our plate. She's doing that. Our next ingredient is marshmallows. Again, sugar, 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 right? Because that's pretty much what marshmallows are. There are some cool, fruity, pastel-colored marshmallows that are out there, and these actually have some flavor added to them. So there's like lemon and lime, and what else does it say? Orange and strawberry, depending on their colors. We tried adding these as well. We liked that. We're going to add just the white ones this time without the added flavor, but if you want a little extra color, a little extra flavors, you could do that as well. So she's folding that nicely in again, and we're going to put in a cup of marshmallows and 1 for our garnish. So here's our cup of marshmallows. I will go ahead and put those in as well. So again, this is in honor of all of those fun, fluffy kind of desserts that we often find at our family gatherings, the holidays that are so special for us. So this year, I just encourage everyone on Easter, if you were used to getting together with your family, you could still eat together. You could either FaceTime each other or I know a lot of people have found Zoom, which is a way to have several people on a call at the same time and be able to see their faces. And you could just have it sitting at your table and eat together and talk together. Or if that seems a little weird, at least call each other on that day and have some good conversations together. There's a lot of good that comes from having conversations as a family. All right, fantastic. So this is our orange fluff, and you can see it's still pretty fluffy, right? Mm-hmm. Now, would you like to make our garnish for us? Oh, these out of the way. show us what our garnish is gonna look like on top. So this is just a fun little extra step. A lot of times you'll see this in culinary kinds of things, right? You get your plate and it's such beautiful presentation. So have some fun with that. In this case, we just left out a few of our ingredients. We just left out 5 little oranges and a little marshmallow to make a flower on the top. And it just kind of gives it that nice presentation then. All right, and it looks like we have about 2 minutes left on our resurrection rolls. I will get out. Julia, do you want to show them the other? So this has become a favorite of Julia's, for sure, right? So if you want to take a little bit out and try it and tell us what you think. So you can see it gets a little bit firmer because that gelatin really helps it to stay. And I have not confessed this to Julia yet, but last night, as Nathan and I were getting ready for bed, he said, so that orange fluff that was in the refrigerator.
I can tell because
you can tell, right? He was very strategic about it though, because he took it all from the outside so that we might not notice.
yeah, I noticed because I left it because this was all up.
Yeah, it was a lot fluffier,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot more fluff to our orange fluff. But Nathan approves of this as well. So we'll let Julia have a little taste of that. What do you think? Do you approve?
Orangey and fluffy.
Orangey and fluffy. There you go. That's great. All right, so the rolls are going to be coming out here. I think actually they look pretty good.
Oh, yep.
So Nathan will take those out of the oven.
You want me to take them out?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. And I will bring a couple of pot holders over so that we can put this here on the table. One of the things that we will do next is to take some of that reserved butter, and I will say that I put a 1/4 cup of butter rather than 3 tablespoons in the recipe. I'm going to reduce that to 3 tablespoons because we ended up making the recipe later on and decided that we were wasting a lot of butter. So, oh, there's our beautiful rolls.
We had a few explosions.
It looks like we had, oh, Mom didn't do quite so good there. Okay. So why are you putting butter on this?
It's a texture thing, right?
Yes, so if I can remember my grandma Buxton, she made rolls all the time. Like there were always rolls for church dinners. She always had rolls at whenever we had big family gatherings together. And her secret for her rolls is that these were yeast, just yeast rolls. She would keep all of her butter wrappers in the refrigerator because there was always, just like a little bit of butter on those. So she would save them all in the refrigerator. And then that was how she would, if you don't have a fancy brush like this, you just use your butter wrapper and put that over top of your rolls, and the butter makes them more tender. If you want a little crispier, harder kind of an outside, then you can leave the butter off. These will just make it a little more tender. But we will let Nathan get the phone and turn that off quickly, maybe. And then, why don't you show us why these are called resurrection rolls? What has happened to them?
Okay, so you just take off a little part. You can see that the marshmallow has disappeared, just like Jesus was resurrected from the grave.
Yeah, so the tomb is empty because he is risen. So that's why they're called resurrection rolls. So it's fun, they're delicious, they're really, really good. And I think that is all we've got for today. So we just want to wish you a very happy Easter. We are so grateful that you come and join us every week. This is a highlight of our week. We love getting together with you and sharing these things. We like finding some recipes to be able to share with you. Next week, we're going to be looking at some 4-H recipes. So we're going to look at some 4-H books that are out there because we've got a lot of 4-H friends that are finding projects to be able to do while they're at home, and one of those could be a food and nutrition project. So we're going to take a look at those next week. Until then, happy Easter.